Hello and welcome to the third video for Beginner Theory 1.3 note values and rest values. Now you would have learnt how to write notes, read and write notes with their accidentals. So for example, that's an E flat. Bass clef, all cows eat grass. Let's do C double sharp. So that's a C double sharp. Oh, I said E sharp, E flat, didn't I? That's an E sharp. Every good boy, B flat. I'm just doing random notes now. If you don't understand this means you gotta look at the last two videos. Good burritos don't fall. That's an F natural. And then you have, I need one more. Okay, let's do good burritos don't. Good burritos don't. D double flat. Okay, so sharp raises a pitch 1 semitone, lowers the pitch 1 semitone, raises the pitch 2 semitones or a tone, leaves the pitch unaltered. It's a natural double flat, lowers the pitch 2 semitones. Okay, so we know how to write notes, but music you need to have note and rest values of different duration, because if you just had a melody that had a note that played the same length of time every single time, it can get pretty boring. So note values, how do we distinguish note values? We also have rest values too, so we'll do note values first. So these are notes that make noise. Okay, so we learned how to write the semi-breve already. So, oops, focus. So this is the semi-breve. So that's the British system. The Americans call this the whole note. I'm deliberately leaving some space here. Now the minim is a semi-breve with a stem. Okay, so it's called a minim. And the Americans call this the half note. Then you have the crotchet, which is a colored in note with a stem. And the Americans call it the quarter note. Then you have the quaver, which is a crotchet with a tail. Quaver. And the Americans call it the eighth note. Then you have the semi-quaver, which has two tails. Semi-quaver. And the Americans call this the 16th note. Okay, so they're the note values. The semi-breve is worth 4 beats. So if I wrote notes like this, there's a bar line, oops, 2, 3. Okay, so if I were to play these notes, sorry about the little things in there, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so then you have the minims. These are worth 2 beats. The crotchet, so it would be shorter length, so I can fit 2 of these in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're minims. Okay, so they're a bit quicker. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Then you got the crotchets. They're only worth 1 beat, so a bit quicker. Then you got the half beat. They're worth half a beat, and the semi-quavers are worth a quarter of a beat. Okay. What about 3 beats or 1.5 or 3/4? Well, this is where dotted note comes in. Okay, So if I did a minim and I put a dot next to it, the dot always goes on the right hand side of the note. I've added 50% to that note. So originally it was worth 2. 50% of 2, or half of 2, is 1. So you go 2 plus 1, which equals 3 beats. Okay, so this is called the dotted minim. Okay, so the dotted minim is worth 3 beats. I'll just rub this out so it makes it a bit clearer for you later. Okay, there we go. Dotted minim equals 3 beats. Alright, so what about the dotted crotchet? So the crotchet's originally worth 1, okay? I put a dot next to it, I've added 50% of that note to it as well. So it goes 1 plus a half equals 1.5 beats. So this is the dotted crotchet. Okay, you've also got dotted quavers. So dotted, sorry about my messy writing, quaver. So you add 50% of the half to it. So what's half of half? Half of half is a quarter. So half plus a quarter equals 3/4. Okay, so the dotted quaver is worth 3/4. We're not going to do the dotted semiquaver. It's worth 3/8, but we don't need to worry about that. You're just being tested on these. Okay, so what about so these all make noises. What about notes that don't make noise? Sometimes you need silence in music too. So rest values, let me just move the stuff over. Okay, rest values. So what about the notes that make silences? We have rests that make silences. Okay, so first we've got the semi-brief rest. Let's write it here, semi-brief rest, which means 4 beats worth of silence. So it's equivalent to the semi-brief note. So semi-brief rest always is written like this in the stave. So you look at the second highest gap or space and you draw a rectangle hanging off the line. So that's the semi-brief rest. Then you got, I think my neighbor's fire alarm went off, sorry guys. Then there's the minim rest, which looks very similar to the semi-brief rest. So it's worth 2 beats. It's equivalent to the minim note. So it's 2 beats worth of silence. You go on this very same space, but this time you're going to draw the rest on top of a line. So it sits on top of a line, whereas that one sits underneath the line. So how do you tell this apart? See, I think, oh, the semi-brief rest, it's hanging upside down. That's very impressive. I'll give that 4 points. Okay. The minim rest, oh, it's only sitting on top of a line. It's not as impressive. I'll only give it 2 beats. That's kind of how I remember it. So again, if you want to dot that note, it becomes a dotted minim rest with 3 beats, etc. I'm not going to dot it. Okay. All right. Then we have the crotchet rest, which is equivalent to the crotchet beat, crotchet note. Sorry. So it's worth 1 beat. The crotchet rest, it's a bit trickier to draw. You draw like a backwards 3, and then you kind of do a diagonal line on top. This is the crotchet rest. It's worth 1 beat. Okay. Then you got the dotted quaver rest. Oh, sorry, quaver rest. I'm not going to do the dots. The dots, you just add 50% to it. You just put a dot on the right hand side. The quaver rest looks like a little Y. You draw it in the middle of the stave. Oops. Quaver rest. So it's only worth half a beat. And then you got the semi-quaver rest, which is like 2 Y's with sharing 1 stem. Okay. Semi-quaver. Whoops. Rest worth a 1/4 beat. Okay. So they're the note values. Now we got to go look at the stem rules of these notes. So the rest values, just to summarize, the semi-brief rest, you always have to do it on the second top gap, hanging upside down. Minim rest, take a second top gap again, sitting on the line. Crotchet rest, just draw it somewhere in the middle of the stave. Quaver, the middle 2 gaps, and the semi-quaver, same thing, middle 2 gaps. Okay, now rest, stem roll, sorry. Now, if you have a lot of notes that kind of go like this, now I'm going to make them all stems down. It gets pretty tricky to read the positioning of the notes, especially when they're grouped together really, really closely. Okay, so we have stem rolls. Oh, I didn't talk about the quavers and the semi-quaver and what they look like when they're joined. I'll do that soon. Okay, so stem rolls. This is all incorrect, okay? Don't follow that. Stem rolls. Alright, with the stem roll, if you look at the 5 lines, and the middle line is what determines the stem, whether it goes up or down, okay? So the middle line. So when the note is above the middle line, the stem needs to go down. Okay, I can do crotchet, doesn't matter how high, as long as it is above the middle line, the stem has to go down. When it goes down on the left hand side. If you do it like this, you're going to be marked wrong, okay? So it goes on the left hand side when it goes down. Now, if it's below the middle line, the stem goes up. Doesn't matter if it's a quaver. Oh, I should show you semi-quavers and quavers. When they're upside down, the tail is always on the left hand side, so it doesn't look like this. That's incorrect. It has to look like this. Okay? Semi-quavers. I'll do one upside down. There you go. So the tails are always on the right hand side, but when you flip the stem around, it's, you know, on the left hand side. So the stem rolls. But what about the notes that are actually on the middle line? Well, they can go either up or down. It doesn't matter. Alright? So if it's above the middle line, the stem goes down. So above goes down. Below goes up. Middle, the stem can go up or down. Alright, now when we join quavers and semi-quavers together, we don't draw individual tails like this. That just is just too hard to draw. It's too much work. So what we do instead, if I want to put 2 semi-quavers together, it looks like that. It's 2 lines. But when it's a quaver, it looks like this. So I'll just do it in brackets here. This is what they look like when they're joined together. So the quaver only has 1 line. The semi-quaver, focus, thank you, has 2 lines. Okay, when they're upside down, they look like this. And I'll do other ones like this. Okay, so there are note values and rest values. I do, this is probably the most intense video in the beginner theory, well, level 1 anyway. So make sure you read through this, or at least look through this video several times and pause it if necessary, because it is very hard to memorize all of these. Okay, so you must memorize these note values, and then once you get that down pat, we'll go into time signatures and learning how to write rhythms in different time signatures. So revise all of this, you need to memorize all of this and all of the rest values. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.